What you're seeing in these images, these B-24 Liberators lifting into the Pacific sky, connects directly to the stories my dad, Tom P. James Sr., carried with him from World War II. He served in the 7th Air Force, the 11th Heavy Bomb Group, and the 42nd Bomb Squadron, and the memories he shared were stitched together from long missions, close calls, and the deep loyalty of a crew that trained and survived together. Dad joined his crew in Tonopah, Nevada in 1944, where they trained in B-24s, big, stubborn aircraft that demanded teamwork and nerve. It was a full circle moment for him. Before enlisting, he had worked as a machinist at the Consolidated Aircraft Plant in San Diego, where many of these very planes were built. He went from machining their parts to trusting his life to them. After training, his crew picked up a brand new B-24 in California. They named her the Dragon Lady, and together they flew her across the Pacific to Hawaii. While they were there, another crew in the squadron was short a man, and the commander ordered my dad to transfer, but he didn't want to leave the men he had trained with. So, he hid out on the base until the other crew departed without him. When he finally came out of hiding, he apologized to his pilot, who let him stay. That decision kept him with the crew he trusted for the rest of the war. From Hawaii, they flew on to Guam, where they began the long missions that defined 1945 in the Pacific. By then, the Japanese Air Force had been largely destroyed, but the dangers were still immense. The biggest threat wasn't always enemy fire. It was the ocean below and the engines above. Each B-24 engine had a lifespan of only about 250 hours, and the missions often meant 10 to 12 hours of flying over nothing but water. One mission took them from Guam to Saipan and then on to the Bonin Islands, Iwo Jima and Jima, laying the groundwork for the coming invasion. These were extremely long flights, so on Saipan they would drop the belly turret and install a 500-gallon disposable fuel tank in the bomb bay to make the round trip possible. When they flew low-level attacks on Jima, they had to descend into a narrow mountain inlet lined with anti-aircraft guns. They came in at 50 feet, dropping mines or skip bombs into the harbor. On one of those missions, after they had emptied their auxiliary fuel tank, it refused to release. The navigator and engineer calculated that if they didn't get rid of that weight, they wouldn't have enough fuel to make it home. So my dad was assigned to get it out. They opened the bomb bay doors. A narrow catwalk ran between the racks where the bombs normally hung. With a rope tied around his waist, Dad crawled out over the open sky and tried to kick the tank loose. It wouldn't budge. He went back for a crowbar, returned to the catwalk, and leaned his weight into it. Suddenly the tank broke free. The force nearly pulled him out of the plane, but he grabbed on, and the crewman holding his rope hauled him back. They closed the bomb bay doors and turned for home. Another time, flying at high altitude, they hit severe icing. The B-24 had a design flaw. The same exhaust that powered the superchargers, which kept their engines running at altitude, was also needed to heat the wings to melt ice. They could use one or the other, but not both. When the ice built up, the wings stalled. One by one, the planes in the formation began to fall out of the sky, spinning out of control. Dad said it was the most terrifying moment of the war for him. As they dropped, the pilots finally had enough altitude to switch the exhaust from the superchargers to the wing heaters. The ice melted, the wings caught air again, and the planes clawed their way back to stable flight. But the formation was shattered, aircraft scattered in every direction, dangerously close to mid-air collisions. Somehow they all found their way home. Dad flew 40 missions, each one 10 to 12 hours long. By the time he completed them, the war in the Pacific was drawing to a close. And because he made it through, because his crew made it through, our whole family is here today. These planes you're watching now carried ordinary young men into extraordinary danger, and the stories they brought home, like my dad's, remind us that every takeoff, every landing, every mission was a thread in the larger story of how the war was won.